Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. We're in Brussels and our guest is Israel's Foreign Minister, Gideon. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
In Gaza, the situation remains very tense. The U.S. Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, is supposed to travel to the region, and he said he wants to extend phase one of the ceasefire agreement. Does this mean that Israel is also in favor of extending it instead of going directly to phase two, which is what is supposed to happen soon?
It's not unconditional. We would like to go to phase two. We would like to go to phase two, but we have our objectives. I'm not sure if Hamas will be ready to total demilitarization of Gaza Strip, because we are going to demand it very strongly. So there are significant gaps on issues of phase two. This is clear. The chance for having that agreement within a few days on phase two seems not very high, so we can also consider the continuation of phase one if it will include the release of hostages. It won't be given for free anyhow.
Right. There is also in phase two, it entails, in theory, the full withdrawal of Gaza by Israel. But it seems this is not what the government is saying or planning, right?
No, we would like to withdraw. Altogether, if they will have a demilitarization of Gaza Strip, the Islamic Jihad and the Hamas will go out military wing from Gaza Strip, and they will hand over our hostages. We will be able to withdraw from Gaza. We don't intend to stay there. We have clear objectives, and the objectives are the release of all our hostages, and that Gaza Strip will not threat anymore Israel's security and Israel's citizens. If that objectives will be achieved, we will not have to be in Gaza.
What about Donald Trump's plan for Gaza? U.S. taking control of Gaza and its inhabitants being sent to neighboring countries or even beyond. Do you think it's a workable solution, or as it appears in the last few days, this has been more or less abandoned?
Anywhere in the world, if there is someone who wants to immigrate and there is a state which is willing to accept him, it is legitimate, it is human, it is moral.
But they don't want to.
You said that, but I disagree.
That's what they say.
No, they don't say it. If you say they say it, you didn't see public polls that were held among Palestinians and didn't spoke with them lately, because I think, but if they want, we will see that. But if it will be offered, and there will be state that will be ready for accept, very legitimate. And I think there are a lot of people that want to immigrate from Gaza Strip, but we will see that.
Some in the West Bank are concerned by the recent military operations, seeing their operations to clear out camps in Jenin, Tulkarem, that they think what has been done in some areas in Gaza is being done in the West Bank. Is this what's happening?
Now, what's happening is operations needed to have security there. Just a few days ago, we saw bombs in 5 different buses in Tel Aviv. Who did it? Palestinians from what you call the West Bank. Fortunately enough, we didn't see casualties, but very easily there could have been casualties. So we need to take care. There is a huge effort led by Iran to push money and weapons into the PA territories in order to inflame new front there.
So it's a temporary operation.
So, yeah, of course it's temporary.
You mentioned Iran. I want to get to Lebanon. Israel still controls 5 areas inside Lebanon. Will it be temporary, or are you willing to stay there?
It's 5 points along the border after we withdrew from all the territory we took this war. Needed because the other side is not implementing. because in the agreement itself, there was a commitment that Hezbollah terrorists won't be southern than the Litani River.
Are they still there?
They are still there. So when we will have performance base, no problem. We will be able not to be there in these 5 points, but for the time being, and in order that any attempt to invade our territory by Hezbollah will fail, because otherwise it will collapse the whole thing and the whole ceasefire. We need
But there's
to be
no
there.
deadline. You're not saying in 3 months we're gone. It could be
Implementation based. We will implement when they will implement. They need to do, and we need to do. It's not unilateral. They need to implement what is in the agreement. They hadn't. We withdrew from, let's say, more than 95%, even though they hadn't implemented the most important thing. They need to implement.
Do you trust the new leadership in Lebanon to do that?
We notice there is a goodwill, and this is why we basically withdrew from almost everywhere. I hope that President Aoun and his government will be successful, will be able to release Lebanon from the Iranian occupation. We saw the funeral of Nasrallah. We saw there flags of Hezbollah, flags of Iran. We hadn't saw there any flags of Lebanon. So the most important thing here is whether Lebanon will be able to have a better future. We support a better future for Lebanon and its people.
I want to get to Syria. There also, Israel controls area in what is called the buffer zone, even beyond. You said several times that it would be temporary. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke a few days ago. He said two things. He said Israel would stay indefinitely, and he also called for the full demilitarization of southern Syria, and he said we cannot accept any military force there.
We don't want any threat on our border. We don't want another
But that's a new situation. You agree it's new?
We don't want any, no. The reason we went there just after the collapse of the previous regime in Damascus, after they entered to the buffer zone, they breached and violated the disengagement agreement from '74. They attacked UNDOF outposts there in the buffer zone. We don't want any new Islamist front. We have enough with Hezbollah and with Hamas. And therefore, we will not accept any threat. And we know also that there is an effort by Hamas, by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They have a couple of thousands of activists in Syria. They want to open front in our Golan border. It is very close to our communities. We will not allow that. We have low expectations from the new government.
You don't trust them?
Damascus.
You don't trust Ahmed al-Shara? The European Union just announced a lifting of sanctions.
The former Al-Qaeda and ISIS activist? No, we don't trust. As much as the Western world didn't trust them when they were in Idlib.
They seem to trust them now.
What's the difference? That they took over by force? It's not a democratic, elected, legitimate government. It's a bunch of Islamists, including jihadists, that took over by force and other parts of Syria. Okay, they can have it. They cannot threaten our border.
So you don't want any military? I mean, that's a major demand that you're making on them in all the south of Syria. They cannot deploy there.
They cannot risk our border.
Iran, there have been reports that Israel would strike Iran's nuclear infrastructure, according to the Washington Post, by the middle of this year. Should Israel strike Iran's nuclear weapons now, nuclear infrastructure, because Iran is weakened, including by the previous Israeli raid? Is this something that should be done? Or, as Donald Trump said, he would love to make a deal with Iran. Is this a preferable way?
You spoke about the diplomatic option, but Iran itself, in its declarations, including today when we are talking, said they are not willing to negotiate, saying we will not negotiate as long as the maximum pressure policy by President Trump is taken. I think that also, if there were negotiations, I think that the gaps between the US approach and the Iranian approach is huge. I think Iran should feel pressure from all the international community to stop its nuclear program. And this, if not, it must be stopped. It must be stopped or it must be stopped. These are the two options.
You're here in Brussels because you co-chair the EU-Israel Association Council. For the first time since 2022, Israel has been vividly criticized here in Europe for its war in Gaza, the tens of thousands of civilian victims. 3 European countries have even recognized Palestine as a state. Do you think that this is a sign that things are improving, or could you measure still the tensions between Israel and most of European countries?
3 of the European Union states did it, as you mentioned, but 24 hadn't.
They could still do it, huh?
Every country is sovereign to implement its policies and decide, but the truth is, it ain't good for the purpose of peace, because as I will phrase it like that, nothing about Israel without Israel. To do things unilaterally won't help to get a bilateral agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. So it's not right for the sake of peace. It's not right for the Palestinians because they feel they can gain achievements without paying the necessary price of the compromise. It's not good for Israel. So it's not constructive altogether. This is why we oppose it. And I'm happy that the vast majority of the European countries, even though they support two-state solution from their point of view, didn't thought it is constructive to do things unilaterally, because it ain't going to change situation on the ground, that's for sure.
You mentioned the two-state solution. This is the condition the Saudis have put on the table for normalization with Israel. It seems it's going to be impossible.
It is impossible to impose upon Israel something that will endanger its security. And today it is very clear that a Palestinian state will be a Hamas state. Today the Palestinian Authority is very far to meet the condition of a peaceful neighbor. And this is, of course, a problem. But, you know, we had also conflicts with so many Arab countries, and now we have peaceful and normal relations with them. And hopefully that will be the case with the Palestinians in the future.
Gideon Sar, thank you very much for being our guest here on France 24. And thank you very much for watching this interview from Brussels in Belgium.